Today I have an interesting video for you. It's about the copy paste hacks in Excel. Now, I'm sure you already know how to copy paste data in Excel. Maybe you know a couple of additional tricks. But in this video, I'm going to go far and beyond and cover a lot of copy paste tricks that you might not know already. So let's get to the video. But before that, I have a favor to ask. If you find anything interesting in this video, any trick that you did not know already, please let me know in the comment section. Let's get to the video now. Let me start with the absolute basics, but there is one trick I want to show you here. So I have this data and I want to copy paste it, so I can select this data. Then I can use the keyboard shortcut Control C in Windows and Command C in Mac, and that copies the data. Then I can go to the destination cell and I can use Control V. So hold the Control key, press the V key, and it is going to paste the data. If you're using Mac, you can use Command V. You can also use the right click menu. So select the data you want to copy, then right click anywhere, click on copy, and then go to the destination cell, right click, and then you see all these extra paste options. And I'm going to explain all these options in later part of this video, but you can just click on this option paste and it is also going to paste the entire data. Now here's the trick. You can also use enter instead of Control V. So here I come to this data, I copy it using Control C. Now I'm going to go to the destination cell and instead of Control V, I can use the enter key. So as soon as I hit the enter key, it is going to paste the same data. It is exactly like Control V. So you can also use enter instead of Control V if you want. Now let me show you how you can cut copy paste using your mouse. So here I have this data and let's say I want to copy this column and I want to put it somewhere else. Now, if you bring your cursor at the edge of the selection, you will notice that your cursor changes into this 4-pointed icon arrow. And if I just hold my left mouse key and drag it, this is like cut paste. So this is going to cut the data that I selected and paste it where I leave the mouse cursor. So see what happens as soon as I do this, it brings this column C, which was there here, the data was here in column C, and it has cut this data and pasted here in column E. If you want to copy paste it, you hold the Control key and then again do the same thing, select this data, hold the Control key, bring the cursor to the edge, and now you see that your cursor changes into this small plus icon along with the pointer. And now when I drag it and I put it somewhere else, it is going to copy this data. So now it has created a copy of this data. And if you have formulas in your data set, then those formulas would also be copied and the references would be adjusted. And now let me show you a very interesting trick. If you want to move rows and columns within the data set, then you can use this trick. You hold the shift key and let's say I want to swap column B and column C, so data here and here. So I'm going to select column C, the data in column C here, hold the shift key and bring my cursor to the edge of this selection. Now again, you see that the cursor has changed into this 4 arrow pointed icon. And now when I drag it on the left, you will see this thick green line. And when I leave this here, it is going to bring column C in the position of column B and take column B to the position of column C. So it is going to swap the column. See what happens as soon as I leave my mouse cursor and I am continuing to hold the shift key as of now. See what happens? It instantly switches the column, swaps the column. So this is a really amazing trick when you want to move rows and columns. And the great thing about this is it only impacts these two columns that I selected. It doesn't impact any cells that are below the column or anything that is on the right. So it is not actually swapping the entire column. It is only swapping the part that I selected. Similarly, if you want to move, let's say rows, select the row, hold the shift key, keep holding it, then bring the cursor to the edge. And now when you move it, you will see this thick green line. And when you have the green line where you want this data, you leave it there. So what it's going to do is, as of now, if I do this, it is going to bring this data point, this row, in the position where I want it. Let's say I want it below Robert Strauss. So this is going to bring the record for Kelly Lawrence below Robert Strauss and everything else is going to come down. So everything else would be shifted down. See what happens when I hold the shift key, bring this up, leave it here, everything is adjusted. And at the same time, nothing on the right, if there is a data set on the right or at the bottom, nothing else get impacted. It only works on the data that you have selected. So this is a really fast way to quickly move rows and columns. If you're using Excel with Microsoft 365 subscription, then there is this new keyboard shortcut that you can use to quickly paste as values only. So here I have this data, and let's say I want to copy this data. So I use Control C, and if I paste this data here, it is going to paste everything including the formatting. But what if I do not want the formatting? I just want the values. Now there are ways to do this using paste special, but there is this new keyboard shortcut that you can use, which is Control Shift V. So you select this data, you copy this data, go to the destination cell, and then hold the Control and the Shift key and then press the V key. And as soon as you do this, it is only going to paste the values. Now this is quite useful if you also want to convert, let's say, formulas into static values. So here in this column, I have commission and I have calculated this using a formula, but I now want to get rid of the formula. I just want these values. So to remove the formula, I'm going to copy this and then simply use Control Shift V. So I'm overwriting over this, but I'm pasting these as values. So the formula has gone. You can see in the formula bar, I do not have formula anymore. Another situation where this could be useful is when you are copying data from other places. For example, here, let me show you, I have this web page. And here I have this Wikipedia page and I have this GDP values by countries, and I want to copy this data and paste it in Excel. So let me copy this data, part of this data. I'm going to go back to Excel. And here, if I just use Control V, it is going to paste the data, but you can see it also brings the formatting from the Wikipedia page, which I do not want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control Shift V. So I hold the Control and the Shift key, and now when I press the V key, it only pastes the data without the formatting. So this is very convenient if you are copying data from other places, let's say some other spreadsheet document, and you do not want to carry forward the formatting, then you can use it. Or if you're copying it from a web page or other applications such as PowerPoint or Word, you can simply use Control Shift V. Excel has a paste special option where when you copy data and you paste it, you can choose what to paste. So you can paste selectively. For example, you can only paste the column width or only the formatting or only the values using paste special. So let me show you all the options that you have in paste special. Here I have this data. I'm going to copy this data, and now I'm going to go to the cell where I want to paste it, right click, and here you see within paste options, you have these icons, and then you have this option called paste special. Now I'm going to talk about these icons in just a minute, but let me talk about paste special button here. And if you click on this option, it is going to open the paste special dialog box, and within that dialog box, you have everything related to paste special. So ideally, I prefer working with the paste special dialog box because I get all the options in one single place. So if I click on this option, it opens this paste special dialog box, and here I have all these options which I'm going to explain. But let me first tell you the keyboard shortcut to open this dialog box. So when you copy this data, go to the cell where you want to paste it. You can open this dialog box by using the keyboard shortcut Alt ES. So press the Alt key, then the E key, and then the S key. And doing that is going to open this paste special dialog box. You can also use an old keyboard shortcut that still works, which is Control Alt P. So hold the Control and the Alt key and then press the V key, and that also opens the same paste special dialog box. Now here you can see we have all these options. We have all, which is just like Control C, Control V, because it is going to copy and paste everything. Then we have formulas, which is going to paste everything, but if there are formulas, then it is going to keep them as formulas, but not paste everything else. For example, if I choose this option and I click OK, so I have formulas here in column D, and I click OK, it is going to give me this entire data set, not the formatting, just the values, and the column that has formulas would give me the formulas. If you only want the values, you can use this option. This option will only paste the formats. This will only paste the comments and notes that are there in the copied data. This option here can be used if you want to copy paste drop downs only, or if you have data validation rules in the cells, then those can also be copied. And this would only copy validation. So it is not going to copy everything else. But let's say you want to copy values and validation, then you can first copy values and then repeat the same process with validation. So it would only give you values and validation and not the rest of the stuff. Then you can choose this option. Now the options here are a little less used, but let me explain what these are. So this one will paste everything, but it will keep the source theme. So if you're copying your data from, let's say, some other Excel file that has some theme, some color theme there, then it will ensure that that same color theme is maintained. Or if you're copying it from a PowerPoint or a Word document and that has different colors, those colors would be maintained. This would paste everything except the borders. So everything here, including the colors, including the bold cells, but not the borders. This is going to paste column width, which is very, very useful. I recently created a video about it, and so many people told me that this is an option that they did not know exists in Excel, where you can also copy column width. So I'll show you all these options and how it works. This option is going to copy formulas, paste formulas along with the number format. So if you have applied any number formatting here, that would also be copied. And this option here is going to copy all the values along with the number formats. Now let me quickly show you a couple of these options. So if I click on all and click OK, it is just like Control C, Control V. Now let me come back here, Alt ES to open the paste special dialog box. If I only paste values, then it only paste values. The formulas are gone. So here I have formula, but it is gone here because I'm only pasting as values. All the formatting is gone. Let me remove this. Let me come back here, copy this data. Then again, Alt ES. If I only paste format, see what happens. It doesn't paste anything, no values, nothing, only the formatting. If I only paste column width, then it is going to adjust the column width. That is the same now as the source data column width, but nothing else is pasted. So now in this case, for example, let's say I want to copy and paste the values and the column width, but I don't want anything else. Then I can come here. I can first paste values and then repeat the same process and then paste column width. So it will give me the values and the column width, but nothing else. So you can repeat the same thing multiple times and extract what you want, only paste what you want and leave the rest of it out. Now let me show you some other options that are available in Paste Special. So let me copy this data. Come here, Alt ES to open the Paste Special dialog box. Now here I have these operations. I'll explain this in the next part of the video, but these are some interesting options. So here I have the transpose option, and as the name suggests, it is going to transpose your data. Very useful. If I click on it and I click OK, it instantly transposes the data. So the row becomes columns and columns become rows, and you can see I get something like this. So if I just want to, let's say, quickly get a list of names, but I want it in a row, I can copy this. I can come here, open the Paste Special dialog box, click on Transpose, click OK, and it is going to give me an entire row with the name. So it has transposed the data for me. Let me go back to the data, copy this, and let me show you one really interesting option. Again, let me use Alt ES to open the Paste Special dialog box. And here I have this option called Paste Link. And if I click on this button, see what happens? It pastes the data. But in this case, this cell refers to the original cell that has this data. So this refers to cell A1 and this refers to cell A2 and so on. And the benefit of this is now if I make any changes in the source data, that would be reflected in this copy data as well. So if I come here and I make this from Canada to I change this to India, it instantly gets reflected here. So now this data is linked to my original source data. And this could be useful if you're creating reports or dashboards and you want to make sure that you're copying data, but you still want this to be linked to the source data so that if someone goes back there and make any changes, the changes are automatically done to your report or your dashboard. Then this could be quite useful. Now let me talk about those Paste Special icons I showed you. So everything that you have in the Paste Special dialog box can also be done using icons. Now I prefer using the dialog box, but you can use the icons if you want. So I copied this data. I went to this cell. If I right click, I see these options. These are limited options, but these are most used options. So you have paste here, you have paste as values. And while I'm hovering over these icons, you can see that it is actually pasting the data. So I can see what is happening. This is paste formulas, this is transpose, this is paste formatting and paste link. If you want more options, you can go to this option, Paste Special, and come here, and then it shows you all these extra options that are available to you. So you can have all these options as icons. I prefer Paste Special dialog box, but again, it's completely up to you. If you prefer this, you can use this option. And if you want to open the Paste Special dialog box, you can click on this. You can get the same thing by going to the Home tab, and here you have this paste option. If I click on this, it is going to simply paste the data. But if I click on this arrow, it gives me all these same options that you just saw, and you can use these options as well. So again, it's the same thing. All these options are available in the Paste Special dialog box, and they're also available here in the right click menu or here in the ribbon. So you can choose whatever option works for you. Now there is one additional option that is not available in the Paste Special dialog box, but it is available in the right click menu. And I'm going to talk about that option in just a minute. Now let me talk about the Paste Special operation that I showed you in the Paste Special dialog box. So here I have this data, and let's say I want to calculate commission for these sales values, and let's say the commission is going to be 10% of the sale value. So to do that, I'm going to just copy this column here, have the same column. Let me change the name to commission. And now in a separate cell somewhere in the worksheet, I would simply have the value that I want. So this is 10%. I'm going to put 0.1 because it also copies the formatting from here. So I would put 0.1 here, which is equal to 10%. And now I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to come to this cell, this range, select this, and now open the paste special dialog box. So I can right click and then click on paste special, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Alt ES. Now here I'm going to go to the operations part here, and as of now it says none. But if I click on multiply, what this is going to do is my copied cell would be multiplied by all these cells, and then it would give me the static value. See what happens when I click on OK? It instantly gives me these commission values, and these are not formulas, these are numbers. So I could have done the same thing by using a formula in this column, but I can also use paste special that allows you to do these operations. And paste special has all these operations where you can add a value to a specific cell or a range. You can subtract, you can multiply or divide. Now again, this is one way of doing it. There are obviously formulas that you can use, and I'm not really a huge fan of this option. I rarely use this, but again, this is something that you should know about that is available for you in the paste special dialog box. In the last to last part of the video, I told you that paste special dialog box has all the options except one. So in this part of the video, I'm going to show you that one option. It is actually very, very interesting. So here I have this data, and what this option does is it allows you to copy the data and paste it as a picture. So here I'm going to select this entire range, then copy this. And now let's say I want to paste the picture here. So I'm going to go to the home tab, and here in the paste options, in the other paste options, the last two ones where you see a picture icon are the ones that I'm going to use. So if I hover my cursor over here, you can see that a picture has been pasted and it says picture. And this option is linked picture. Now linked picture is actually very useful. So let me first click on this one, which is just regular picture. Now what this does is it gives me a static picture here. This is nothing, just like a simple screenshot where this data has been converted into a picture, and now I can put it anywhere. If let's say I'm creating a dashboard and I have multiple charts on multiple sheets, then I can take pictures of those charts and put it in a dashboard, or I can then use it in other applications such as PowerPoint or a website. So this is a very simple thing. You can also do this with the chart. So you would have to select the cells. Now you can do this with a chart as well, but you can also, if you're using copy paste, then what you can do is you can come here and select the cells underneath the chart, and now copy, then come here, and you can again go to the ribbon, or you can right click and then go to paste special options here and then click here, and then again it gives you the chart. Now this is okay, this is an okay option, but what is more interesting is the linked picture option. So see what happens when I select this data. I bring the cursor down here, and let's say I want to paste it here. I'm going to go to the paste options and then click on this option. But now this is not a static picture. If I come here and I make any changes in this data, that would be reflected in the picture in real time. See what happens if I come here and I remove the surname for Robert. It is reflected in this picture, and this is actually a picture here. So you can put it anywhere, but this picture is linked to this data. And you can see when I select the picture and I go to the formula bar, you can see it says A1 to C16, which means this is linked to A1 to C16. And any changes that I do here would be reflected in the picture. If I come here and I make this 2000, you can see it has instantly been changed in the picture. Now I can put this picture anywhere. This is really great if you are creating dashboards in Excel, because now you can have these snapshots that are dynamic. You can put them all together, and if any changes are made in the backend data, these would automatically be reflected here in the dynamic picture. Now you can do the same thing with charts as well. So here again, I would come here, I would select the cells below the chart. Now you cannot do this by just selecting the chart. You have to select the cells below the chart, and this is why you see I have perfectly fit this chart in this range, because I can select it. I can select the cells below it, and now I can copy them. Then I come here, I go to this option, click on linked picture, and now this chart is done. Now if any changes is being done to this chart, it would be reflected in this linked picture. See what happens when I come here, and let's say I come here and I say I want to add data labels. And as soon as I do that, that is also reflected in the picture here. And this picture is linked to the range E1 to I11, which is this. So now I have to make sure that the chart remains in this range, because if I move the chart, if I move this chart, my image here would start to get blank because it is still referring to this range here. So you can see this image here is now showing me blank because it is referring to this part here. If I come here and I make this yellow, my image becomes yellow because it is referring to that range. So this is a useful option. It is also called the camera tool in Excel, and you can quickly take these snapshots. These are dynamic. You can put it together and any changes that are done would be reflected in the picture. Another copy paste trick that not many people use is using the clipboard in Excel, and that is going to make your life easier when you are copy pasting a lot of data. So if I go to the home tab, I have this option called clipboard, and if I click on this small dialog box launcher, it opens this clipboard pane on the left. Now, as of now, my clipboard is empty, but when I copy anything in Excel or outside of Excel, everything would be shown here in the clipboard. So I can copy multiple items, and then when I need to paste it, I can quickly select from the clipboard what I want to paste. For example, let's say I want to select a few names. So I'm going to select this name here and this name and see what is happening while I'm doing it. So I selected Jonathan, it appears here. Then I go to Kelly Lawrence, I copy it and the name appears here. Then I come here and you can see while I'm copying, these names keep on appearing here. And now when I want to paste it, I can come here and I can choose what I want to paste. So I have a larger data set, but from that I have selected these options. I've copied these names and I can easily paste them here when I want. So this makes my work a lot easier because I can quickly copy paste data. I can collect everything by first copying everything and then I can paste it from the clipboard. Now, this clipboard doesn't only work with Excel, it is also going to work with other applications such as Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, or even outside of Excel where you copy data from, let's say, web pages. For example, let's say I have this web page here and this is Wikipedia table for list of countries by GDP, and let's say I copy this paragraph that I want to get into Excel. So I copy it, and now when I go back to Excel, you'll see that it appears in the clipboard. So I can go to this page, I can copy the parts that are interesting for me that I want in Excel, and I can just, let's say I want these, so I copy these, I go back into Excel, and you can see all of these are here. So I can easily paste these one by one through the clipboard rather than going back and forth on the web page. You can do the same thing with Microsoft Word as well. So let me open a Word document, and here let me get some random text. So here's a quick trick for you. If you enter lorem in Word with an equal to sign, just like a formula, and these empty brackets, and hit enter, it is going to give you this random text, which is lorem ipsum placeholder text. Now, if I copy this text here, let's say I copy this, and then I copy only this, and then only this part of the text, and I go back to Excel, you'll see that these also appear here in the clipboard, and now I can paste it. So I don't have to go back and forth with the Word document or PowerPoint or web pages. I can first copy everything that I want, and then I can easily paste them in Excel one by one using the clipboard. And once you are done, if you want to paste everything, you can use paste all option, and if you want to clear it, you can use clear all. Now, here is even more important thing. This clipboard is not really an Excel thing, it is a Windows thing, which means that I'm seeing this clipboard in Excel, which is specifically for Excel. But if you want to work in, let's say, Word and or any other application, or let's say you're working on your website, then you can use Windows clipboard. And if I hold the Windows key and press the V key, it opens this Windows clipboard here, and I can use this anywhere, not in Excel, in any application on my system, on any website, on any web page, on social media, anywhere. So you can use clipboard to quickly copy data from multiple places, get it all together in one place, and then you can paste it easily just by selecting what you want through the clipboard. Here is another useful copy paste situation where I have these cells that have formula. So I have the commission value here, and I want to copy paste this column somewhere else, but I do not want the references in the formula to change. Now, as of now, if I copy this and I paste it anywhere, the references automatically adjust because these are relative references, and C2 would automatically become G2 because it refers to the cell on the adjacent column. Now, if I don't want this, here is a simple trick to do this. I'm going to select this data here that has the formulas, And I'm going to now use find and replace to make sure that my references do not change. So I'm going to hold the control key, press the H key, so it opens the find and replace dialog box. And here I'm going to replace the equal to sign with something that I'm sure is not going to be in the formula. Let's say I'm going to use 3 pound signs. And now when I click on replace all and make sure this option look in formulas is selected, and if I click on replace all, it removes the equal to sign and puts these 3 hashes, 3 pound signs instead of it. So now the formula is still there, but it doesn't work like a formula because a formula needs an equal to sign. Now I can copy this, paste it wherever I want. I can transpose it if I want. And now I can replace the hash with equal to again. So I go back and I change this. So I replace these 3 hashes with an equal to sign. And now when I click on replace all, it would bring back the formula, then the formula would recalculate and give me the value. So if you want to copy formulas to someplace else and you do not want the references to change, you can use this trick. Here is another copy paste trick that many people already know, but there is one additional thing I want to tell you. So I have this data and let's say I want to copy the content from the cell above. So I can use the keyboard shortcut Control D. And when I do that, it copies the data from the cell above, but it copies everything. If there is a formula in it, if there are formatting, if there is anything, borders, fill color, everything is going to be copied. And if you want to copy anything to the right, then you can use the keyboard shortcut Control R, and it is going to copy the data from the left and put it in the cell, in the selected cell. Now, these are pretty well-known keyboard shortcut, but there is one thing I wanted to show you, which is if I just want to copy the value down, I do not want the formatting, I do not want the formula, just the value, then you can use this keyboard shortcut, hold the control key, and then use the double quote key on your keyboard, which is next to the enter key. And now when I hold the control key and press that key, it gives me only the value. It doesn't give me anything. Let me show you. So I would remove everything here and let me give this a color. Now, if I come here and I use Control D, you can see everything is copied, including the color. But if I use the Control key and then click on the quotation key, it only gives me the value. So again, so if you're doing data entry and you quickly only want to copy down values, then you can use this keyboard shortcut. Here is another simple copy paste trick that you may not know. So if let's say I want to manually select some of these records and paste them here together, I do not need to do this one by one. What I can do is I can select these together, copy them, and then paste them in one go. So let's say I select this record, then I hold the control key. I'm going to select the records that I want to copy. And once I'm done, I'm going to just use Control C to copy all these records. Come here, and then I can use Control V, and it is going to paste all of them together in one go. If you want to create a copy of the entire sheet, here is a simple keyboard shortcut. Hold the control key, go to the place where you have the tab name, and then hold the left mouse key and drag it to the right. So it is going to create a copy of this sheet on the right. If you put it on the left, it is going to create a copy of the sheet and insert it where you see this little black pointed arrow. So here, if I bring it here and I leave the mouse key, it simply creates a copy of the sheet. So you can quickly duplicate sheets. But here is something interesting I learned many years ago, and it might be useful for you in some situations. So let me delete this sheet. And let's say this sheet, I want to have year numbers. For example, it's 2020. And now I want to create a copy of this sheet, but I want to name it 2021 and 2022. So if you put this in brackets, and now when you create a copy of the sheet, it is going to increment it by 1 automatically. So now it has 2020. And now if I create a copy of this, it becomes 2021 and then 2022 and then 2023 automatically, because Excel is programmed in a way where if the sheet name has brackets and it has any number, it automatically increments it. Here is another copy paste secret that not many people know about. I have this data and let's say I want to move this data to the right. Now, obviously I showed you there are multiple ways of doing this, using keyboard shortcuts, using the mouse, but there's another way. I bring my cursor to the edge of this selection and now I'm going to hold the right mouse key, not the left, right mouse key. And now when I drag it to the right and bring it to the position where I want this data, and you can see it shows me the reference. And now when I leave the mouse key, it shows me this menu and you have all these options. You can move the data here, you can copy it here, you can copy as values, only formats, and all these options. And you have these options which are actually interesting, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But let's say I just click on copy here or copy here as values. It quickly gives me only the values here. Now again, not very impressive because you already know how to do this using keyboard shortcuts, using paste special. So let me remove this, but let me show you something interesting. Here I have this column where I have these formulas. Oh, the formulas are gone. Let me create the formula. So let's say the formula here is 10% of the sale value is the commission. So I have the formula here. Now I want to remove the formula and just get the static value. So what I can do is select this column, bring the cursor to the edge, hold the right mouse key, do a little to the right, go a little to the right, not a lot, even just a little is fine. Come back and then click on copy here as values. And this is going to just give you the values and the formulas are gone. So this is called a wiggle trick, where you just wiggle your cursor a little bit, come back to the original position. It shows you the menu and you can select the option. So let me quickly show you again. I have these values, these are formulas. I select this, I go a little to the right, come back, copy here as values, and you're done. So this is again a very fast way to quickly convert formulas to values. Now let me show you one last option in this case. So let's say I have these values that are already in here. Now I want to bring this table here, but I do not want this to be removed. I want this table here, and then these values should be below the table. So I want to like append these two data sets. Now you can easily do that. Select this data, bring the cursor to the edge. I hold the mouse right key, bring it here where I want this data. So this place. And now I'm going to choose this option, shift down and copy. So this is going to shift this data down and copy this data here. See what happens when I click on this. It gives this data is here, and the data that I originally had has now been shifted down. So if you want to append multiple tables, this is again one way to do this. So again, useful trick to know about. Now let me show you a useful copy paste trick with pivot tables. So here I have this data set and I have used this data to create a pivot table. Now this is a very, very small pivot table and not a very useful data set, but it will work fine just to show you what I want to show you. So here I have this data, I have these countries and I have their sales values, and I have this slicer here. Now if I click on Canada, it only shows me the value for Canada. If I click on France, it only shows me the value for France. Now, if you want to create another pivot table with the same data set, you do not need to again go back and create a new pivot table. You can simply select this pivot table that you have created and paste it. And when you copy paste this table, let me tell you what is happening. In the backend, when you have a pivot table and you create, when you have the pivot table data set and you create a pivot table out of it, Excel first creates a pivot cache, and that cache is then used to create the pivot table. So this is why when you create, you have a data set and you create a pivot table, the size of the file sometimes doubles or increases significantly because a pivot cache is created. Now, when you copy this pivot table and you paste it somewhere in the same workbook, it uses the same cache. So this table and this table are using the same cache here, and it is not required for me to create the pivot table again. But this also means that because it is using the same cache, this slicer is connected to both of these pivot tables. So if I come here and let's say I change this pivot table and I say instead of region, I want this by name. So I have these sales values by region and sales values by name of the sales rep. And now if I use these slices, it is going to be applied to both of these tables because they are both connected to the same pivot cache. Because I copied this same pivot table and pasted it here, it made a connection with the same pivot cache. See what happens when I click on France? It shows France data, but then it also only shows me the people from France and their sales values. So this is how you can create multiple pivot tables but have them all connected to one single pivot table source. And here is a final tip where you can use copy paste within charts. So here I have this chart and I have made this using this data. And let's say I create another chart. So I have this data here. Let me insert another line chart here. So I have this chart. Now I want this second line chart that I have created, and I want this chart to look just like the one on the left. So instead of making all the changes again, what I can do is simply come to this chart, copy this. So I can use Control-C, or you can right click and then copy. Then come to this chart, select it, right click, and then click on paste special. And when you do that, you will notice that now I have very limited options because these are options only available for charts. And I can select formats here and click OK. And as soon as I do this, all the formatting of this chart has now been applied to this chart. So if you're working with multiple charts in your workbook and you format one chart, then you do not need to apply the formatting to all the individual charts separately. You can just copy the formatting from one chart and then paste it as formats on all the remaining charts. So this can really speed up your time. So these are all the copy paste tricks I wanted to show you in this video. If there was something that was new to you or you found interesting, please let me know in the comment section. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Also, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Thank you and have a nice day.